So why don't you start off by sort of setting the scene for us and talking a little bit about who your character Alex is and what she's facing at the start of the film?
Alex is a young woman who's, freshman in college, has a list of things that she wants to do while she's in school, and is a very ambitious, a little bit OCD, really smart young woman who becomes seduced by the sport of rowing, and her falls in love with the sport to an almost obsessive degree and has a toxic relationship with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I understand that the story was based on some real life experiences of the director, Lauren Hadaway. Did she give you any insight into the character?
Oh, so much. I mean, we spoke about it a lot. I was mostly interested in that because when she sent me the script, she also sent her image book. And in that was a statement that she had written about her own experience rowing in college and how she wanted to really capture this sport and this obsession that she herself kind of went through, and how she wanted the film to feel, which very different than anything when you receive like a script in a lookbook. I mean, usually they want to show you how it's going to look. She really wanted to capture a feeling, and I myself have my own drive and ambition and grit as a young woman myself, and I really deeply related and felt seen by this character. And then meeting Lauren, we both realized that we had that same kind of like creature within us that would like stop at nothing and have such passion and literally break your own back over trying to make something really special. And really with her, she was just there every step of the way with me. Kind of, I trusted her and she trusted me, and we held each other's hand and like we made this baby together, really.
Literally. And yeah, I mean, one of the things I thought was interesting is you see a lot of sports movies about guys and guys competition, and this was really interesting, kind of an insight into like the women's side of it and the obsessiveness that women can have on sports. And talk a little bit about that feeling about kind of getting into the world of women's sports and bringing that to the screen.
I've been a runner for a couple of years now, and just for my own personal growth and personal competition, and rowing was a sport that I was completely unfamiliar with. And the research that I did at the beginning when I started rowing and was rowing for 6 hours a day and learning how to do the sport, because I didn't have a double, I rowed the entire movie. When I was speaking with Lauren about rowing, we had a lot of conversations about how rowing was incredibly competitive in her school for scholarship spots because of Title IX, and because there's so many more men's sports in college that get so much funding. And because you have to have equal funding for men and women's sports, women's rowing became like this kind of trough of scholarships. And if you could get into the varsity boat, you got a full ride. That was kind of the way that it worked. And it really gave me this different idea of like competition between these women. I mean, Alex isn't competing against any of these girls. She's competing against herself, which I found to be really fascinating as a character and as an actor to play. But to really be involved in the sport and learn from the girls who were actually the rowers that were on the team, who were rowers at Trent University, to the coaches and everything, just how competitive those places are, and to learn how difficult that sport was. It really gave me so much respect and understanding for this sport in particular, especially when it comes to women. I mean, this sport is like completely ruthless and relentless. I mean, your hands are bleeding on a daily basis. You're touching these oars that other people have touched. They're getting infected. And the minute you get a blister and it calluses over, it like rips off and you've got your hands bleeding all over again. And I got to experience that. And it's not a pretty sport. I mean, it is like beautiful in certain respects. I know we made it look really beautiful in the movie, but it's a mental game. You're staring at the ponytail of the woman in front of you for hours on end. Your legs are literally turning into bricks and you're getting jacked. I mean, when I made this movie, I gained 12 pounds of muscle preparing for this role. And my body was completely different than it had ever been. I was the strongest I'd ever been in my life. And my body was completely and utterly jacked. I mean, I had abs. I had like a six pack. And that's a weird place to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, wow, it really gave me so much respect for female athletes in a new way, because it is much harder, I think, as a female athlete to to beat certain times. I mean, we, you know, I remember when I ran like one of my marathons, like, you know, you can't help the fact that you're on your period that day. And it's like, well, you're running 26 miles, you know, and that's what this shoot was. I mean, like all of us were in this boat together. I mean, we're all like cramping and on the same cycle, and you can't get out of the boat because we're filming for 10 hours during the day and you're leaning off the side and peeing. And you're just like, well, this is what it is. It's not as graceful as it seems, you know, and it really, really is like this, you know, this like beautiful sport, but also like very, I mean, I felt it many times like a dude. It was great. I loved it. I have so much respect for the women who do this sport. It's a really tough sport.